Hey, what's up everybody? This is the Helpful Hacker, and today we're going to be going over the Windows command line room from TryHackMe. So we'll jump right in and get started. So this room is just going to go over the Windows command line. So introduction, task number 1, they're going to talk about the difference between a graphical user interface and a command line interface. Graphical user interface being how we normally use a computer. You have icons, a start menu, a desktop, and all that. A command line interface is just a console with text, and we can send commands to the computer and the computer can respond. And there's some advantages to this. One, it has lower resource usage. Another one is automation. So you can write scripts on the command line that will automate tasks for the computer to do, which makes life really easy, especially if you're in IT. And then additionally, remote management is much easier in a command line interface versus in a graphical user interface. So, learning objectives, we're going to learn about the command prompt, we're going to learn how to get basic system info, take a look at networking, we're going to look at files and folders, and then we're going to look at running processes. So, their prerequisites for this room are the Windows and Active Directory Fundamentals module. So I have walkthroughs of both of those on my channel, so you should check that out. And then here they're having us just log in. So I'm going to take this IP address, open up a new, and it's going to be and then I think the username was just user. Let me double check that. Yes, it was. There's the password. So we'll SSH into this machine. Awesome. There we go. And we can tell here that we are on the Windows command line because of this right here, this C users user, that's all Windows. Plus it just tells you right up here, Microsoft Windows. So yeah. So now we have SSH'd in, and down to the question, what is the default command line interpreter? cmd.exe. So that's the answer to that, and the answer to that was up here. So they kind of give you that pretty easily. So with that, we're done with task 1. Now it's on to task 2, basic system information. So before they go into the basic system information, they do want to tell you a little bit about path, and they give you the set command so that you can actually see what's in your path. So I'll run that. So that's the set command, and then right here we can see path, and it goes through a bunch of stuff. And basically what that is just a path that your commands have to be in order for them to work. Now what path actually is a bit more complicated and quite a bit in depth, but they don't go into it in this room, so neither am I. So all you need to know is that any command that you want to run has to be in the path, right? And you can check that path using set. So that's all you need to know about that for now. If you want to know more, TryHackMe has more rooms that go into detail, or you can just Google it. But yeah, that's all you need. So now we're going to check out the ver command or the version command to get the version. And there we go, there's our version, and they give us an example right there. So that's the operating system version. Now the more useful command that we're going to take a look at is system info. So it may take a second for it to load. Okay, so there we go. So system info, we get a bunch of good information here about our system. Literally most of anything you need to know about a system as far as versions, names, you can find it here. So before they're having us move on, they want us to show us a couple of more things. So the first thing is they're going to show us the more command. And what the more command does is it basically, if you have a lot of output, like see how I have to scroll through this? If you have a lot of output and you don't want to deal with that, what you can do is you can use the pipe command, which just sends one command into another command, and you can send that into the more command. And what'll happen, if this ever loads, So here we go. So now we have this output, but then we have this more down here at the bottom. And what it does is it's basically now going to feed us one page at a time. Instead of feeding us the whole thing and making us scroll through it, we can just get one page at a time by using more, and you use spacebar to click through it. And to get out of more, you can either spacebar all the way through, or you can just hit Control C, and that'll get you out of it. Either or. So those are a couple of things that they wanted us to know. And then additionally, help can provide information for a specific command. So let's just do help system info, and it's going to give us a little help page about it. So that's pretty useful. Additionally, another thing that often works is you can do system info and then /?, and that'll also do the same thing. So either or, both of those will just help you get a nice little, page that'll help explain what a command is, what it's for, and some of its syntax. And now to clear your screen, you can just type in CLS, and that'll clear it. So that's something that's useful to know. And now down to the questions. What is the OS version? So I already typed in system info. I threw in that command. So let's check out the OS version. The OS version is right here. We're going to copy that. Oops. What? Is there a space in there? I don't know why it's not taking that. 10.0. What was that number again? 2348. 2348. Oh. It wants us to use this command. Let's see if it's different. 2348. Okay, so it also gives us, in this case, the full, when you look up the full version, it gives you more numbers. I'm not sure what the difference is between these. I mean, I know the difference, the numbers, but that's the right answer. Okay, I'm gonna figure out why those are different. Okay, so I Googled it, and pretty much they're just sometimes different. They can be different due to environment differences or different user permissions, or they can just sometimes report differently because sometimes they'll include build numbers, sometimes they won't. Just kind of depends. So that's why those numbers were different. Anyways, that was confusing, but now we can take a look at the next question. What is the host name of the Windows VM? So that will be in system info, and the host name is right here. And we'll just paste that. And there you go. So with that, we are done with task number 2. Now it's on to task number 3, network troubleshooting. So basically, in the command line, you're going to have to work with networks a lot, and honestly, it's just generally easier to do in the command line. So we can look at our network information using ipconfig. So, and it'll just give us a quick blurb, give us the default gateway, subnet mask, our address, all that good stuff. So that's just the short version. But if you need more details, you can do ipconfig /all. And then that'll give you a lot more detail. So we can even look in this, we can see like DNS servers, and we can see that DHCP is enabled, stuff like that. So it gives you additional things to know about. And so that's how you can get info on your network. Now, as far as network troubleshooting, the most common tool used is ping, and you do ping followed by the name of whatever you want to ping. So they give us example.com, so we can just hit ping example.com. And because ours isn't attached to the internet, chances are we're going to drop all these packets. But basically the way that it works is ping is just like sending a quick signal to another computer that says, hey, are you there? And if the computer is there, it'll respond with a quick signal, which we can see right here how it says reply from, and then it gives you the time. So when you get that response, you know you are connected because you were able to ping it. Now, if you don't get that response, in our case, we had 4 packets sent, 0 were received, we lost all 4. That means we're not connected. So we can't connect to example.com. But they were nice enough to give us an example here of what it would look like if we actually did connect to example.com. So then another useful tool is going to be TraceRT, but that just stands for trace route, and that's how people will pronounce this command. So it's TraceRT and then the target name, and it's basically like putting a tracker on your request. So it'll follow it through the internet, through all the different hops, through all the different machines, and it keeps track of time and where those are. So you can see output of it down here. Again, it probably won't work because our VM isn't connected to the internet. Yeah, so it's just gonna time out. But normally you would get a response like this if you were able to connect to something. And yeah, so that's traceroute. So you not only can you see if you can connect to something with ping, you can actually follow its exact steps and see how it connected. So that's useful. Another useful networking command is NSLOOKUP, and this is going to look at the host or domain and like return an IP address. So vice versa, you know. So if you have, I'm going to stop this because I don't want to wait. And again, I'm not going to do NSLOOKUP because we probably won't get any output because we're not connected to the internet. But if you were to do NSLOOKUP, it would be NSLOOKUP example.com, and then that's going to use the default name server. But you can also do NSLOOKUP example.com, which will use the name server that you provided. Okay, and name servers and all that has to do with DNS. You'll learn more about that in like networking fundamentals, or I think they just came out with a networking room on TryHackMe. Either way, you can learn more about DNS on TryHackMe. They have a bunch of rooms on it, or you can just Google it. But basically, NSLOOKUP is going to give you the IP address of a domain. That's the simplest version of it. You can do a lot of other cool stuff with NSLOOKUP, including like what they did here. They specify which name server they want to look at. And then that's what the output would look like. You have your server, you have its address, authoritative answer, you have the name, its address, right? And so that was their normal one. Then when they do 1.1.1.1, you have the server, address, and then the same non-authoritative answer. So that's what NSLOOKUP is for. If you need to know the IP address of some website, you can just do NSLOOKUP. Now, the last network command that they're going to show us is netstat, and this is going to give us all of the network connections, and that's pretty much it. Like the basic netstat scan with nothing else. If you just do netstat, which we'll just do, right? It's just going to give us any established connection. So that's just going to give us established connections, but there may be other connections, right? And the way you get those is you add arguments, so -h. If you do netstat -h, that'll give you the help page, and you'll be able to see the different types of arguments. So let's do that as well so you can see that. So these are the different arguments that we can use, and these two I think are probably the most commonly used. So TAC A or -A will display all connections and listening ports, because maybe we have a listening port but nothing has connected to it yet. And then -B will display all the executables involved in creating each connection or listening port, which is very useful. So they give us an example here. They don't just do A and B, they also do O and N. O is going to give us the process ID, and N uses numerical form for addressing and port numbers. So when you type all those flags in, this is what the output's going to look like. So we can see we have a TCP connection on port 22. This is the process ID, and currently it's listening, right? And then down here we can see this is an established connection. This is the local address on port 22, and it's going all the way out to this. And then here's the process ID. So that is netstat. And again, what's cool about this is you can kind of see here, you can see what executable is responsible for different ports. And that's right here. So that's really helpful just in cybersecurity in general. So what command can we use to look up the server's MAC address? So what command can we use to look up a server's MAC address? So if we want to look up another server, that's probably going to be something with NSLOOKUP. So we'll do an NSLOOKUP /help. Wait, does it want our MAC address? Because that would be easier to find. Yeah, okay. I read that wrong. So ipconfig /all, and that's the answer. I'll show you why. Because right here we can see, where is the MAC address? MAC address, MAC address. Physical address, right here. So there's our actual MAC address. The way that they had it phrased, I thought they were asking to get another server's MAC address, but if you're on the server, this is how you can get your own server's MAC address. So that's the answer, ipconfig /all. And then what's the name of the process listening on port 3389? So if we want to take a look at all listening ports, we can do netstat abon, and that'll give us a lot of detail. 3389. Term service. So we'll paste that in, submit that, and that's the correct answer. Now, what is the IP address of your gateway? Again, we'll clear ipconfig, I think 10.10.01. So that also would have shown up if I had done ipconfig /all, but you don't need to. Okay, so that's all of those questions, and with that, we're done with task 3, network troubleshooting. Now it's on to task 4, file and disk management. So they're going to talk about CD will just display where you are. So CD is like, hey, where am I at? And it'll tell you. So if I just do CD, it tells me I'm in users /user. Now I can see the child directories using dir, which, if you're familiar with Linux, is a lot like ls. And this will give me all the directories. So that's how you can view child directories. And what you can do is you can use --a, and this will display hidden files as well. And you can do /s, and this will display files in the current directory and all subdirectories. So let me show you what that's like. /a for all, and then you can see we get lots of other stuff in addition to what it gave us before, because some of those were hidden. And then we can do directory /s, and that gives us a lot of data. Lots of stuff to look at. So that's kind of what the output looks like. And again, it makes sense that this is long because this is files in the current directory and all subdirectories. And then you can use tree to visually represent like kind of where you're at and the child directories and subdirectories. So let me clear that and then just do tree. And so we can see C, and then I got desktop, documents, download, favorites, link, all that stuff. And that's from users. Yeah, so that's kind of a visual way to look at it, which can be helpful if you're doing something pretty complex. So you can change to any directory by using CD and then move into that target directory. So if I go back to directory, now I'm going to CD into documents. So now if I hit CD and ask where am I, it tells me, hey, you're in documents. And a cool thing you can do is if I want to go back one, I can just do CD and then 2 dots. And now I'm back at user/user, which you can see right there. So that's what that is. Pretty useful. And you don't have to be next to the target directory. So for example, let me just, I don't know if there's any other directories in here. Oh, okay. Here's what I can do. So I can do CD. Now I'm at users. So I could CD back into user, and then I could do backslash and then go into desktop. And if I do that, I jump all the way to desktop, right? So you don't have to be next to a directory in order to get to it using CD. You just have to lay out the entire path that you want to follow if you want to jump multiple directories at once. So, and then they give you some examples right here that you can look at in addition to the ones I showed you. So now they want us to create a directory using make directory. So let's first see what directories we have. Now let's make a directory called hello. And now if I do it again, we can see there's my directory hello. So I just made that. That's a directory. To delete the directory, use remove directory or RMDIR. That's what that stands for. And then the directory name. So let's try that. So now I'm going to remove the directory hello. And then if I see what we have, now you'll see hello is gone. So that's how you make and delete directories. Now we're going to move on to working with files. So you can easily view text files with the command type, and this will basically dump the contents of the file onto the screen. So we're going to take a look at their example. Do they give us an example? Oh, no, they don't. Okay, so let's go find something. Let's CD documents. Now, is there anything cool in there? 0 files. Okay, well, they don't have any cool files for us to look at, really. So we're just going to have to take their word for it, I guess. But basically, with text files, you can view what's inside the text file just by hitting type. It's similar to the cat command if you're familiar with Linux. And this will dump the contents of the text file onto the screen. And if you're going to use a lot of text, then you may want to use the more command that we used before. So you would do type, name of the text file, and then you would pipe it into more. So spacebar you can move by a page, or enter you can move by a line. So that's how you can see what is actually written in a text document if you need to. Now they want to show us the copy command, which I'm not going to go through because they give a good example here. But basically you have test.txt here, and when they put in the command copy test.txt, test2.txt, what you're doing is you're saying, I want to copy the contents of test.txt. Where do you want to put it? I want to put it into test2.txt, which is a new file. So copy, what do you want to copy? Where do you want to copy it? Pretty straightforward command. And then if you execute that, you'll see here you have test2.txt, right? So that's useful for copying things, which we all have to do. And then there is also a move command. So that can allow you, instead of taking a copy of it, you can just move the file somewhere else. So in this case, they do move test2.txt ... And what the dot dot is going to do is it's going to send it back, right? Just like when we cd dot dot and we go back, test2.txt is going to send test2.txt back one directory. And so now the only thing left in this directory is test.txt. Okay, so now they want to show us the delete or the erase command. So basically, I mean, I feel like that's pretty straightforward. We can delete or we can erase stuff using these. So here we have directory test.txt, test2.txt, and here they're gonna hit erase test2.txt, and then it's gone. So delete and erase, yeah, you gotta know those commands so you can get rid of stuff. And then here they let us know you can use the wildcard character to refer to multiple files. So wildcard, it's just basically like a card game. It's a wild card, so anything can go in that space. So in this example, they do copy wildcard.md, and then they want to copy it to markdown. So this will copy all of the files with the extension md to markdown, because it doesn't matter what is in this wildcard position. Anything can go in there. It could be 100 letters, it could be 1 letters, it could be numbers, doesn't matter. Whatever you put in there, doesn't matter. As long as it ends with .md, it will get copied over. So that's another useful thing to know, and it's important that you're able to, use the wildcard effectively, because if you can, it'll make you a lot faster in the Windows command line. So now down to the questions. What are the file contents in C treasure/hunt? So I moved back to, so that's what the cd dot dot cd dot dot was. I moved back 2 directories, and now I see this treasure folder or directory. So I can cd treasure. Oh, I can't spell treasure. It's capital T. There we go. Not ls, I'm not in Linux. And then it has hunt, which is another directory. So I can cd hunt. And then I have flag.txt, and I want to know what's in it, so I can do type flag.txt. Remember the type command from before? So this is why it's useful. And then I have command line power. And that's the answer to that. So with that, you are now done with task number 4, file and disk management. Now we can take a look at processes and managing them. So anyways, they give you this thing. You must be familiar with MS Windows Task Manager. Yeah, kind of, I guess. Anyways, read through that, and then we can list running processes using the command task list. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, look at all those processes. So we got a bunch of stuff here. We're given their process ID, session name, image name, session number, good stuff. So that's what task list does. Now, when you're doing this, it's helpful to be able to filter things, because this is a lot, and maybe on a more complex system, this might be way longer, and you might be looking for something very specific. So if I want to learn more about task list, what I can do is I can do / from earlier, right? So that'll give me a nice little help page. And then what I can do is take a look at, they got some examples here. They have filters. Okay, filter name, status, running, suspended, valid values, image name. Okay. PID, session. So we can filter by all of that good stuff. So how do we filter? We filter using this /fi. So that will let us filter. We can also add other stuff if we need to. These are different parameters that we can use. But yeah, so that's task list. So then here, we want to search for the task sshd.exe. What can we do with the command? So we can do task list / F I which we saw down here. So now we're filtering. And what are we filtering? We're filtering image name, EQ, which stands for equals, and then ssh.exe. So yeah, that's how you would search for tasks that have this image name. So, and then it gives you an explanation. F1 is used to set filter, image name equals ssh.exe. So then you can take a look at that, and this is what the output would look like. So just for fun, let's see how that does here. We should get the same output pretty much. Yep, so we get a few services with the image name SSHD. So yeah, being able to filter is super important, super useful. And then the last thing, once we have a process ID, we can terminate any task using task kill / process ID. And then you just give it the process ID. So process ID 4567, let's say, we could use the command task kill / process ID 4567. So being able to kill a task is important, and if you are familiar with Task Manager and you're a more basic computer user, that's probably mostly what you've used it for. So now down to the questions. What command would you use to find the running processes relating to Notepad? Okay, so first task list, right? And then I want to know the processes all relating to Notepad. So I'm going to filter. I'm going to filter by image name. And that image name should equal notepad.exe. And I know that I want to filter by image name because of this .exe, right? So you know, oh, I can just filter by that. So let's see if that works. Yep. That's the correct answer. Now, what command can you use to kill the process PID 1516? So task kill / PID, and then the process number it gave us was 1516. Nice. Okay, so with that, we are done with task 5. Now it's on to task 6, the conclusion. So here they're going to give us a couple more commands that we should know. So they didn't want to include them in the beginner room. But again, the command line can be used for anything. So there's a million different things. So they give us a couple. So chk disk or check disk checks the file system and disk volumes for errors and bad sectors. Driver query, that'll display the list of installed device drivers. SFC, and then a / scan now scans system files for corrupt files or corruption and repairs them if possible. And then again, they remind you it's important if you don't know a command or if you want to know more about a command, that / can often get you to a help page, or sometimes you can just do help and then the command. And then they also talked about more, and you can use it two ways. You can do more file.txt, and then that will display the text inside the file, right? So if I have file.txt and it's a Word document about, I don't know, hacking, and you hit more, you'll be able to see all of that. But if you want to see the results of a command, then you have to pipe it into more, and that's the pipe symbol right there. So now with this, it recommends we move on to the PowerShell room, and it gives us a couple of questions to end on. So the command shutdown / s can shut down a system. What is the command you can use to restart a system? So let's try restart / help. Oh, I can't spell. Restart. It's not a recognized. Okay. Shut down / help. Okay, here we go. So no arguments, display help, log off, shutdown, R, full shutdown, and restart. So that would be my guess. Not capital R, lowercase r. So that's the correct answer. And then what command can you use to abort a scheduled system shutdown? So A, abort a system shutdown. So sweet. So if you found the video helpful, guys, give it a like, subscribe, that helps me out a lot. And with that, you have finished the Windows command line room from TryHackMe.